Hey up. So it looks like we're heading back to the Outback this episode with another ozploitation film. We're taking a look at Thirst from 1979. This is directed by Ron Hardy, who it looks like has mostly done episodes of TV shows outside of this. The film stars native Aussie Chantal Conture, and we also get a few names here as well, such as David Hemmings from Blow Up, and Henry Silver, who has been in a bunch of stuff like Ocean's 11, Ghost Dog. So we've actually got a few names in this, which is usually a better sign for these sorts of films. So we're back to the 70s as well in this episode, which is nice, gives us a bit more of a break from the millennium trash. Can't argue with that one really, can we? This seems to be getting pretty decent reviews as well, decent compared to some of the stuff we've been watching recently anyway, on things like IMDb and Letterboxd. So we might be in for something a little better this episode. Who knows? Let's take a look, shall we?
Excuse me, I'm David.
You up to? Jesus.
The plot follows Kay, who is kidnapped by the Brotherhood, a strange cult who drink human blood. Now, they're not vampires in the supernatural sense, they're just rich people who think that drinking blood gives them health benefits, and also they have to satiate something called the thirst. They've chosen Kay as she's the direct descendant to a baroness who used to head the cult, so they take Kay to this strange commune/farm where there's blood cows, which are basically just people who they drain the blood from to drink. But Kay is having none of it. They're trying to brainwash her and she's kicking up a fight. I really like this film. I think it's pretty good. It's got an interesting story and setting, and it maintains its pace, which is great. It actually felt like a movie for once, which is more than can be said for a lot of the films in this collection.
Can I buy that truck?
The acting is pretty decent on all parts in this, which is something I'm really not used to saying in this series, but it was great. It's got that 70s feel to it, and it just fit and worked really well. The characters are good too. Kate was quite sympathetic and really good at being in distress for most of this. And Hemmings' character, Dr. Fraser, worked really well as like a foil to the more forceful doctors. Yeah, all just sort of meshed together really nicely. Now, this isn't a splatterfest. It's not particularly gory per se, but there is blood in it, and there's a hell of a lot of blood in it. I'm talking like tanks full of the stuff. Like, it's used really effectively as well. The walls bleed, the milk is blood, even showers rain blood down on you. Really fun stuff. The music's decent too. We get a grand orchestral score for a lot of it, which heightens the tension in some scenes. But then we also get some slower, more choir-like music, which has got an eerie feel and fits the cult themes of the film quite nicely. I really like the setting as well for this. There's a nice Gothic castle in it, which I'm always a sucker for. But there's some cosier scenes as well, which I wasn't quite expecting from a Australian film. We get some nice log fires, there's like a golden wash, which is very 70s over a lot of the scenes. And then you've got the hard contrast from that with the sterile farm lab sort of setting. It all just works well, and it actually feels like a film for once, you know? It feels like quite well thought out and well put together. apparently this film was influenced by Soylent Green, and yeah, I could see that. Especially the main theme of something nefarious needs to be consumed and you're sort of being forced into having it and you don't want it. Similar sort of thing there, and control and stuff like that. But apparently it was also influenced by a few Hitchcock films, mainly Psycho and Marnie. And yeah, I can see that too. Obviously the shower scene is a bit of a giveaway, but also the scene where she's sort of losing her mind and not knowing what's real and what's a dream. Felt very Hitchcockian. From that as well, you can sort of move into, it feels like it's also been influenced a bit by maybe some Argento and some Giallos. Especially like the pacing, the camera angles, and the stylized blood. Definitely see a little bit of Giallo in those elements, and hey, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, it works really well. So this is the second ozploitation film that we've covered in this series. The first one being Turkey Shoe or Blood Camp Thatcher. And even though I liked that film, I think that Thirst has sort of taken that over, and I'd say this is a better ozploitation film. It just ticks more boxes for me, you know, Gothic castles and vampires and stuff like that. Although I did like Turkey Shoe, and if you are interested in hearing my opinions on another ozploitation film, I'll pop something up there so you can follow that through and see my review on that film. Okay, time for the print, and visually, outside of a few scan lines, it was pretty good, to be honest. It's in widescreen, the colours pop, and it's all pretty clear and free from any sort of technical issues or anything like that. The main problem though, unfortunately, is the audio. I said earlier that it's got quite a big orchestral soundtrack, and quite often it likes to distort the shit out of it. And it can be really distracting. It's such a shame. We finally get a really good film in this collection and it's ruined by the print. Typical. And on the disc, we are back to the basics. We're back to chapter select, a trailer for this film, and some Hard Gore trailers. We were spoiled in the last episode, but yeah, we're back to nothing again here. Okay, let's have a look at the case then. So right off the bat, this cover is terrible. It looks super trashy. I thought this was a Millennium trash film from this cover. Not great at all. Really doesn't sell what this film has to offer. The blurb reads fine, I guess. It's not great, but it's not terrible. The quotes I actually agree with for once, which is nice. The runtime is off by about 5 minutes. You know, we've seen worse in this collection, but still, it's not ideal when it's out by a big chunk. This is another film that should have been a 15, but has been rated 18 because of the trailers, and again, at least they're being transparent about this. Overall then, we've actually got a decent one for once. I really enjoyed this film. It's got a great mood, an atmosphere, it's got plenty of blood, it's got an interesting story and setting, and it just has an artistic vision and feels like a complete package of a film for once. It doesn't feel like a half-arsed idea that some drunk college students had. It actually has something behind it, and it's nice to finally talk about a film that has that to it. Unfortunately though, this version isn't amazing. While it's fine visually, the audio does really ruin the film, unfortunately. And there's no bonus features or anything like that to entice you into it. If you are in the market, there is a Shriek Collection version, which is probably exactly the same print, and for some reason is going for insane prices online. I'd avoid that one probably. Looks like if you are wanting something a bit better, you're going to have to import. And Severin and Umbrella are the two guys offering a nice Blu-ray edition of this. Now you'd have to pay a little bit extra, but I'm sure they're packed full of special features, and I'm sure the print's nice, I'm sure the audio isn't awful, and they're both reputable companies. And funnily enough, they're both cheaper than the bloody the bloody Treat Collection release of it, somehow. So you're probably best off importing if you want a copy of this, really. So, decent film for once. I'm happy to have finally watched something good in this collection. It's been a while since we've seen something this good. And I think that ends there, really, for a little while anyway. As next episode, we're back to the noughties, unfortunately. It was nice to leave it while we could, but we're back in the noughties, we're back to the millennial trash. And we're going to be checking out... Oh, it's another white spine as well. The Stink of Flesh.